Hi guys, this is Jackie Cooper from J. Cooper Travels, and I have Dr. Brown here again with us. This is an ongoing series of podcasts to help us as individuals in the time of COVID and just in, even during quote unquote normal times. How to stay safe, how to stay healthy, how to stay happy. There's so many things that are interconnected with our personal health. Today, we are going to be talking about labels. Dr. Brown, you selected this topic. Why did you think that this was important for us to focus on during this episode?
Yes, I felt like if we're gonna do a series of topics, we need to start right at the beginning, where food, everything we say is gonna refer back to food anyway. And I want to get people started on understanding how to read food labels and what they need to look for, what to avoid. So I felt like start from the beginning, and then they keep watching as we go through topics. They'll know what I'm talking about when I say different things.
So for those that might not have had a chance to listen to the other episodes that we've already had, can you share a little bit more about your background and how you became involved in this area so people understand how much hard work you've put in and also your own personal experiences, which have kind of driven you down to take this path to help others?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Uh, I'm Dr. Tiffany Brown. I'm a naturopathic doctor, and the reason why I chose this path is because there's not a lot of holistic doctors that's available to people to help people with their conditions. Another reason why I took this path is because I had women's problems, and I was seeing medical doctors, and just I wasn't getting any relief from my symptoms. So I just felt like let me check out what the natural world is doing, which was overwhelming to say the least, and no one to teach it to me. So I tried a few things, it worked, but I only patched the problem. So I still had the problem. The problem was just patched. But I saw more relief that way than I seen with my regular medical doctors, which I love them as well. So I just said, well, let me just go to school. Let me do this so I can help other people. So and here I am. Yeah.
And I really appreciate that because on the other podcasts we've talked about some topics that are definitely important from the travel perspective as well as just from the personal health perspective. So the question that's going to get us started today is where do we start when it comes to reading labels? I know that many years ago, I was always thinking about reading labels. And to be honest, I've gotten out of the practice of looking at labels. And I also know that labels and the formats, they've changed.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend? How do we start reading the labels and what do we need to watch out for?
Yeah. When I go to the store, where I like to start at is I like to look at the numbers and the percentages of what's kind of how they break down the fats, the carbs, the sodium, and the sugars. I like to take a quick look at that just to see if I can have it. And then I go straight to the ingredients. Like, boom, I'm on the ingredients. And I read every ingredient. And just because I'm looking for certain things and certain things I don't want. So I just read through. And since you tend to buy the same items when you go to the store anyway. Once you read one or two, you're gonna know what you want and what you don't want. So it's just don't give up by reading a few. Spend time in there reading those labels because there's a lot of good information on there.
So, as a consumer, what do I need to know about daily consumption values? There are a lot of numbers there, and I to be honest, I don't know what I need as a woman of a certain age bracket, or what my daughter needs as a woman of a certain age bracket. So how do we figure out what we should be looking at?
So I just like to use like a healthy individual that's kind of active. The like the American daily values for those from the U.S. Dietary guidelines say, based on a 2,000 calorie diet, which is okay if you're active, They want 40 to 50% of your calories from carbs, 25 to 35% from fat, and then 10 to 15 from protein. And so you want to kind of stay in that range. But if you have like any health issues, or if you're pregnant or children, or if you're really active, those numbers are change and fluctuate. So I just would say, make sure you see your doctor on that part to make sure you on your guidelines. So when you read the back of those cans or the back of the packages, because I'd rather for you to really use whole food. But I know sometimes every now and then you're gonna put a package of something in your food, so you know what you're going by. Even when it's like simple things, even spices, well, not spices, but like something that's healthy might come in a package. You still need to read your package. And for sodium, the American guidelines is 23 grams per day. So and this is like a teaspoonful. So if you look at a teaspoon and you level it off, that's about how much sodium you can have a day. And when you really reading the packages, if it's over 23 grams of sodium, then you might want to put it back, unless you're going to portion it out. You got to think about that. Even with sugar, Sugar said, which kind of got me, which kind of tripped me up, were on a 2,000 calorie diet for sugar, they said it was 50 grams a day. And I thought that was kind of a lot. I always go by 25. So when you're looking at your sugars, you want to think about when it's total sugar. They don't put total sugars on there, because total sugars are what is naturally occurring, the natural sugars that item might have. So they don't include that. What they include on the back of the package is the added sugars. So the added sugars is what's on there. And so you want to stay up, they say 50. I stay close to 25. So that, like, and also too, depending on if you have any health issues, consult your doctor, because those will really fluctuate. So I would say just follow that.
So
So
just to clarify with the sugar, what I heard you say is that that's like the added sugar. So
mhm.
um, so if I had like a piece of fruit that has natural sugar in it, do I need to be thinking about how much sugar is in that in the total count as well?
Yeah, you're not gonna see the total count on that package. That's the thing. That was the trick. They didn't put that on. They said they don't put that even on the back of the package. It's the reason why you have to get down to your ingredients to see that part of what is in there. To see, like, if you have like an apple, a dried apple in there, it might have a lot of sugar that's in the apple. People who might have is diabetic, I would say be very cautious of your sugars in your fruit too. You know, you diabetic, you got to watch out for those apples, those pears, those bananas. They full of sugar. So you want to be very careful when you're diabetic. You want to do the substitute of the carbs for something sweet. So most definitely.
So I know you've sometimes mentioned this word, and I for our listeners, it would help just to define it. What are macronutrients?
Yeah.
How does that define? Because again, there's a lot of technical terms sometimes that are thrown out.
Yeah.
How would you define that?
Yeah. Macronutrients are your fats, your proteins, and your carbs. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier, but yeah.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, again, I, I, we have many listeners who are very knowledgeable, and then there are going to be some listeners that might not know the technical terms. So I will always try to ask from that perspective.
Yeah. So yeah, those are your macro, and then your micronutrients are your vitamins. So when
Okay.
you think of the micro, the vitamin supplements, and then macro is the fat, carbs, and proteins.
So we were talking before we came online that there are certain vitamins these days, especially that we might need to be more aware of that we're not getting. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We were talking about vitamin D, and
Mhm.
like at this time of the year, the sun is in a different position, so a lot of people aren't get the sun they need for their vitamin D synthesis, and so this is the time of year you really want to kind of pep up on your vitamin D. And just, kind of, however, if your doctor doesn't have you already on a vitamin D, so it's good to get on one during the winter months anyway.
So if someone wanted to reach out to you, would you be able to help them with that?
Yes, I do. I can. I have a online supply company that we use that carries a vitamin D that I really like. I won't point it out, but okay, if you just want to shop through their supplement collection, but I have a few of them that I picked out, and but yeah.
That would be great.
And
So
also, I want to with vitamin D, I like a lot of people don't know is because it's a soluble vitamin. You want to take it with a fatty meal for the fat, because fat helps absorb the vitamin D. So make sure you take it with a meal that has some type of fat content.
that is really good to know. So what are some things to avoid? Because that was, I mean, you were talking about things that we need to look for. What are some things that we should avoid?
Yeah, you should avoid like those the labels that says fat free. Um, then I like the also to the I know which ones I wanted to say. The trans fats. Most definitely avoid the when you turn the package over, you see trans fats. Don't try to avoid those. Yeah, saturated fats. Don't try to avoid those. Also to like sugar free, fat free, all those. It's a trade off. They trading some off for the fat free or the sugar free.
So
So
you had mentioned that low sodium or reduced sodium are things to watch out for. Why would you want to watch out for that?
yeah, usually like when it's reduced sodium, it's not it's reduced, but it's still a lot of sodium in it. And they might cut it in half, but it's still a lot of sodium. So you might want to make sure you watch out for that. And if you have to buy something with sodium in it, and if they only offer low sodium, then you could go ahead and buy it, but make sure you use small quantities of it, or if you can rinse it off, maybe rinse some of the sodium off of it. So just kind of try to avoid that altogether. But I know sometimes it's hard.
So for those that might not be familiar with how podcasts go or YouTube, there's always a little block right underneath the podcast or near the YouTube. And so for Dr. Brown's contact information, her email, her website, definitely you can reach out to her. She's available for consultations. And you're able to consult across the country. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So definitely feel free to reach out to her. I know that there are different things that she is supporting at different times of the year because of, like she had mentioned about the vitamins, it's important to do. So she's, definitely making sure that her clients have well-balanced lifestyle. And again, when you are listening to the podcast or the YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. There's no cost for doing that. It also shows support, and the faster that the numbers go up in terms of the subscriptions, especially on the YouTube, then the faster I can put Dr. Brown's direct link in there, because YouTube, if you didn't know, they require that you have 1,000 subscribers. So I'm working my way up there. And I will have Dr. Brown's link on the podcast side, but we're working on getting that YouTube subscription up. So we appreciate everything that you're doing, Dr. Brown, for keeping us healthy. I know that we've talked about other series coming up. We're going to be probably doing one every few weeks. So, subscribe, and that way you can kind of keep listening to the topics, and you can keep yourself healthy and happy and vibrant. Any
Yes.
last minute thoughts, Dr. Brown, before we go?
Maybe just one more thing. I forgot to add was sugar substitutes. Really get with your doctor, because there's a lot of sugar substitutes out there on the market, to see which one your doctor would refer you to. Because there's a lot of them out there now, some good ones and some bad ones. So most definitely do that.
Yeah, and just as you had talked about before we came on, everything does start with food, and
Yeah.
then we put it in our bodies, and our bodies are like little chemical factories.
Yeah.
So if we don't support what we put in our bodies, then there's a challenge there. And sometimes our bodies are out of whack, which is why we need to have, the supplements.
Yeah.
and everything else. So that way we can kind of have that happy balance.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your being here because I definitely believe in the holistic way. And I appreciate everything you're doing to keep us healthy.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so much.
having me.
Yep. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.